Aneta Popiel, who is workspace as a service manager for HBReavis. HBReavis is a commercial real estate company. So I invited her to share some of her insights with us, which I hope you will enjoy as much as I will. She's right now based in London, so let's go to London. Hi, Aneta, are you around?
Hi, I'm here. How are you?
Great, and you? So strange to see you online now. Like last year, we did this event in the same environment together, and your dog was the big mascot of the event. And now here we are.
I can bring it later.
How are you?
Inviting me. I'm very good. I'm really happy it's Friday. I think everybody is. But yes, thank you. So I've just was listening to a little bit to what you were previously saying. So we're just gonna slightly change topics. It's not gonna be COVID related.
Exactly.
Maybe it's gonna be a good sort of ending for Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's going to be a very, I mean, people need a bit of like out of the box thinking. And I think through your presentation, they'll definitely get it. You can share your screen. And once I see it, I'll let you know if you want to put your presentation.
Okay. So. Can you see the presentation? Let me know.
At the it's loading. Yes, now we see. So it's, yeah.
Maybe I'll just get out from this view. It's not the best. Maybe let's just go this way. So let me just start talking while we're here. And thank you so much for inviting me. And just to give you a bit of background. So I work for HBReavis, and we are an international developer working in 6 countries. Mainly in Europe, Central Europe, and the UK. And my experience with coworking is on a more sort of traditional side. However, and I think that's why Pauline asked me to share my views, is because the art, I feel very passionate about it. And this presentation will show mainly sort of my aspiration to what I think we should be doing in terms of spaces. And then I touch upon some stuff, if you have some questions of what sort of we've been implementing at my company, but part of it will be also just my interest in my sort of views or where we should be going with this. So just to start with, and I've got some supportive material here, so I hope you can see everything. And Pauline, stop me if there is any interruption, because I don't see right now.
Yeah, right now I see your, it's not in presentation mode, just so you know, but I see your slides.
Yeah, if I do presentation mode, it goes to my other screen, that's why.
Okay. I mean, it's not a problem, whatever.
Let me stop sharing, sorry, technical. Let me stop sharing, and then I'll share the other screen.
I'll tell you when I see anything.
1 second. And then if we do it this way. Is it better?
It's loading. Wait a second. Right now, I don't see anything.
Okay, let's go back to the previous setting.
Wait. It's there. It's here.
Okay, great.
Yes, now I see it. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so I just want to start from this whole theme, why this is so important to talk about creative technology and creative art together. And I just put something here to just explain you the thinking behind it. And artists and scientists are not that different. If we look at the fact how they approach problems, they with similar open-mindedness and inquisitiveness, they both do not fear the unknown, and they prefer sort of leaps to incremental steps. So they kind of make natural partners in terms of exploring the world, and also we can then put them together in one place. So they both search deeply. They both are dedicated to asking the big questions placed before us. So what is true? Why do things matter? How can we move society forward? And the scientist laboratory and then the artist studio are just two of the last places really reserved for this open-ended inquiry, where failure is a welcomed part of the process. And where learning occurs by the continuous feedback loop between thinking and doing. So I think that bringing, art and design, science and technology, and combining the computer codes and traditional artistic techniques actually carves this beautiful space in the middle, which I just put in here and called it magic because I've seen it in the making. And I do really believe of the value of this multidisciplinary hybrid, which allows to marry those seemingly disparate fields of science and art, which together can discover new ways of thinking and how we perceive life itself. So in terms of this as a phenomenon, it's nothing new. We actually, if we go back to the past, the Renaissance has put the knowledge at the heart of the value creation, which actually took place in the workshops of artisans, craftsmen, and artists. Can you see it actually changing or not?
No, it's not changing.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, now it is, yeah.
Screen, so forgive me because it's sometimes a bit tricky, this working thing. So what happened in Renaissance is that this creation took part in the workshops, as I mentioned. So this is where places where painters, sculptors, and other artists met with architects, mathematicians, engineers, anatomists, and other scientists. And they were also accompanied and sort of sponsored by rich merchants who were their patrons. So all of them gave form and life to the Renaissance communities, which were generating not only the aesthetic and expressive experience, but as well as solving some social and economic values. So the result was this entrepreneurship, which conceived the revolutionary ways of thinking, designing, delivering new products, new services, and even seeing the world differently. So in Da Vinci's time, when expertise in art and science had not yet matured, and it wasn't so polarized as we see today, they existed and coexisted naturally next to each other. So it's not something new that we're seeing, which is more of a return to that time. So of course now the science level of sophistication is quite different. But nevertheless, the symbiosis, I think, between the artists and sciences and the weaving of cross-disciplinary exploration into various studio practices is experienced this new Renaissance itself. So today, the collaboration involving a wide range of artists and scientists and makers and engineers who use these exponential technologies to stimulate creative thinking and design innovation is popular in many areas of the business. So they don't only include the obvious creative industries, but also now food tech, health tech, med tech, retail, consumer marketing, and more. And many companies, as you know, are opening VR, AR, or AI co-working spaces themselves to enable their employees to connect with local artists and technologists, so that they can bring the new, fresh, and thinking and unique approaches to the business. So for example, even at HBReavis, where we are designing new buildings, we use VR and AR technology to show new clients how the building we're going to build over the next 5 years is going to look like. And I was using this myself and trying to feel the space around me, how I can move it, and just even feel the space and vastness of the project was very amazing experience. So the arts are, especially valuable for the new industries such as VR, because they rely solely or heavily on graphics, sound, and storytelling. Medical schools are adopting VR to train students, and we actually seen this at Hub when we had one of the sort of student organizations pitching about the medtech slash how do you call it, sort of recovery rehabilitation business based on VR and how it was connected to tech, and that requires a vast amount of illustration and programming. So these, the scientists collaborate together with artists and designers to develop those new 3D VR models, immersive interactive tools for, as I mentioned, medical research, training, education, drug discovery, simulations, modeling. In the retail and entertainment world, companies like Disney, Nike, Apple, or Virgin, they have demonstrated that arts and design can dramatically boost sales and customer loyalty, because you are now creating memorable customer experiences. And we have this experience economy happening. So artists and animators are very crucial in creation of this experience economy, because they are able to tap into customers' desire for imagination, vision, hope, humanity, empathy, and depth. So whereas tech enables new forms of creativity, the technology itself needs this deep grounding in human psychology and the arts. In terms of what are the main create tech and how the name sort of happened of combining creative and technology industries, what the main genres today, you can see that this model designed, as you can see at the bottom, by Janet, observes what are the sort of new ways of the user experience intersections. So you can see whether you want to be passive or active, whether you want to play on the emotional or functional spectrum of the user experience expectations. So it grouped very well what are the sort of technologies that can respond to those intersections. So we have immersive entertainment at AR, VR. We have seamless service as passive and functional, and actually seamless service is something we do as an HBReavis in almost all of our buildings, at least in all of the new buildings, which will allow for this easy route and access to your space without needing to touch a button. We have, of course, transformative experiences and personalized tools, VR, 3D robotics, and actually just to relate to your probably COVID situation, we even used 3D printer ourselves to print special sort of door handle levers to open the doors in our spaces in a more of a safer way, so touchless way. Here I've just put some examples of what these spaces I think look like, but should look even better. So I don't want to pay particular attention into naming the brands that are doing it right or doing it wrong, but just to give you the examples that, as I mentioned before, these industries, the artists and scientists can coexist together. And you can see on the left side of the slides that it is the same place, but designed slightly differently to accommodate the needs, the comfort, the access to certain amenities for both tech and tech developers and artists. But at the same time, they should have some common areas where this magic happens, what I've mentioned in the previous slides. In terms of facilities, I've listed here some sort of facilities that are now starting to appear more and more in a traditional co-working alongside our traditional desk space or event space. And I'm sure that you know that there is a lot of artist focused only spaces, and these facilities will be there already, but we're starting to see more and more, which I'm really pleased with, that even traditional co-working spaces starting to adopt those facilities, amenities as part of the whole proposition. So alongside our traditional office, shared space, flexi desks, you know, you can start looking at providing digital workshops, and this doesn't have to be, and actually it's better if it's not a high spec place, because like the space is messy. It helps them with the creativity. They need a lot of space. And I know that a lot of guys from the co-working and from the property industry will be thinking about the value of the space, that, you know, it takes, how do I then create value if I give so much space to those industries, to those users who require more space at a probably cheaper rate. They actually often need space that is the least valuable in your building. So that could be something with less natural light. It could be somewhere in the lower ground of the space, because they actually need to be a little messy. They need to have some sort of certain condition, like limited lighting condition, for example, for photography, for printing, for broadcasting. So I know a lot of those artistic spaces within co-working are being placed in, let's say, lower ground spaces, where it's just a better environment, sometimes even more soundproof for certain things. And this is how you can sort of manage this space better in the traditional co-working space. And then apart from space, I think it's important to see that space, it's not everything for artists. Yes, there is this need for permanence of space, because what often happens with creatives is that they are being pushed out from the spaces they occupy by more by other industries who can generate more revenue, because they are more they are just basically making more money. But as you can see now, it is so important to actually put creatives next to every other industry and bring this and unlock this value potential of both industries. And therefore it is super important that we create this collaboration between the artists, the creatives, and the tech and scientists together, because they just need to be connected to the industry to be able to give you their views and sort of influence your thinking, so that when we can unlock this alternative lateral thinking and solve problems in a different way, that you may be just stuck in your own industry and not think about different ways of looking at the problem. As with any other industry, they do need partnership opportunities. They need the business support. So don't just think about giving space, but sometimes it's about, can we facilitate something like exhibitions at our space? Can we do some sort of festival? Can we do a hackathon with you guys, with Pauline, where we can invite those people so they can showcase their talent, showcase what they've been doing, and connect them to the right partners so they can then develop the new tools and new products and solutions. Like you've seen, like I've mentioned, it can be just even looking at who is in your co-working, in what sort of industry. Can we somehow open the door to creatives, bring these guys together and do some sort of sprints, do some sort of event together, when actually we can facilitate this collaboration. There is this chance of encounter with different minded people, not just like-minded people, but this is where we can sort of stimulate our thinking from purely science to more humanity and arts, and it works extremely well. And I've just put in here so you see that even in universities, and this is also another angle where you can create partnerships, is with the universities who are now putting together programs where creatives and technology is joined as a one sort of package, rather than completely separate campuses or completely separate just streams of how we used to look at knowledge. So if you see this science centers from Iowa, they have sewing, they have then 3D printing and robotics brought together as an innovation lab workshop. So you're bringing actually people who use their hands every day and people who use their computers and keyboards every day together to create something completely new. And this is absolutely beautiful. And this is how we can try to unlock value and find new products and solutions and tackle very important questions that I've mentioned before, because these are the main groups of people today, scientists and artists, who are asking those primal questions of existence, of how we are making our world better, how we make humanity better. So I think this is super important to remember, to facilitate those connections between those groups. And as you can see, even CogX, which is happening the next couple of weeks, how CogX is bringing the art and tech together. They have their own Create Tech sub page. And with all that is happening in the world right now, what we need to address in terms of warming up the continents, the fluctuating economies affected by the pandemic as well. There are so many things that we can leverage knowledge from these two groups who are pursuing scientific questions in tandem with artists and designers. But given this, unconventional nature and scale of the problems we face today, I think there is this real value that can be gained from the collaboration, which is bridging this best talent we have in both the quantitative and qualitative domains. So artists and designers are the ones who help bring the community front and center, and they make us care. They help us create answers that resonate with our values. That's why I think they should not be just forgotten and thought about separately, but together. And I think last part of my presentation before we go to the questions and the discussion is just the example of where I continuously see a beautiful magic happening between scientists and mathematicians and tech people and creative people is Burning Man Festival. And this is actually a sculpture done by my friends from 2 years ago, where they have built this structure from steel and metal, and they were in partnership with Google, who was doing this interactive mesh, which was reacting, the technology that was there was reacting to your heartbeat. So I just wanted to end this presentation at this note, to show that there is something beautiful that can happen, and it's not just about the aesthetics. Is how we can bridge those two groups together to show us something more, to question things, to answer certain things, and like in here, you know, the technology was connected to your heartbeat. How can we do something that is participatory, that you as a viewer can be part of this technology and art? So that's from my presentation. I waffled on for a little bit. I'm happy to take some questions. And yeah, let me just stop sharing my screen so I can see.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Aneta. It's I find it to be such a fascinating topic, because, you know, like somehow when we talk about technology in that sense, and workspaces, I have the feeling that those two worlds, they don't collide that much yet. In the beginning of the year, we were in Tokyo, and I don't know, do you know TeamLab? I think I told you about them.
Yes, I know. And I told you that one of my friends actually did something with them, so I'm aware of their work and I'm a fan.
And actually, when we were going around, so for the viewers who don't know what TeamLab is, it's, I mean, they have several exhibitions going on around the world, but in Tokyo, they took over a really big space, and they transformed it into something extremely connected. It's art combined with, how do you call it, visual arts. And any room you enter, there is something going on. And for me, I was just imagining this in a workspace for certain of the things they were proposing. And I was just like, wow, it would change so much the whole, you know, like some people don't want to go to work, but then when you can leave something like that, you have a different perspective.
So
and I just
page from the slide was from TeamLab.
I thought that was it, but I was not sure. It's such interesting for me, because like people are asking if, in your opinion, creativity could, or using creative technologies could also be a factor to propose new type of experiences and redefine the purpose of offices.
In terms of redefining purpose of office, do you mean how do we attract people to come to work, or what you mentioned?
Yeah.
So I would say that I have two sort of views on this. There is one view, and we at the company that I work for, HBReavis, there is a team of it's a user experience team, and we have a tool set, and art and inspiration is one of the tools. So every building, as a minimum, has to reach some sort of art content, whether this is part of the campus, whether this is a sculpture, whether this is something that is part of the workspace. We know that people feel and work better when they are creative. So this is something that we bring as a minimum to our spaces. And this can be done in a different way. It can be something, if you feel playful, if you want to inspire, if it's about movement, if it's about common mind, is it about place of identity? So there are various ways you can incorporate art into working environment. We, at HubHub, we always partner with local artists and give them some space to express this, so that when we have people come into our offices, they feel that it's a nicer, pleasurable experience. At HubHub London, we've put together a brief to do something with creating art around inspiring thinkers in terms of creating new technology, and we have Tesla or Marie Curie there on meeting rooms. So this is like one part where you can incorporate art as an inviting something that helps you to feel that you are belonging to that place, or it just stimulates your thinking, or you can go into a quiet space and it feels that is allowing your brain to open for this creative thinking. But on the other hand, I think that there is more to be done. And this is coming from my sort of passions around this subject, because to me, art can only stimulate you if you are the participator. So for me, that's why this is so important, that it's not just a static art that is a part of the space. It should be something that I can participate, that I can feel, that I can get my hands dirty, or I can brainstorm with some guys and write a program that helps this to change constantly, because artists and creatives rely on this continuing stimulus, and you have this kind of different feeling. You look at art in a different way where you participated. So when you're like, when I was at sort of Burning Man equivalent in Israel, it's completely different experience when you're part of the art camp and you're building it, and it's completely different experience, and you can see it on people's faces when they come and when the whole thing is done and they came there for the festival, because you are there learning your skills if you participate in the art making, and it really helps you to learn those skills and apply them in some other areas. So I think there is a place for it where it's a static thing, where it's for identity and placemaking, but there is more to be done in terms of how do we engage our coworkers, members, or visitors, to actually be interactive with this art. And this is where tech is helping.
Actually, it was one of the next questions. So in times of COVID-19, where the physical space is limited or restricted, how can you foster creativity towards your community, but when done virtually?
So I'm sure you guys have seen there is so much content right now. And I encourage you, if you want to look for some inspiration, to follow one of the biggest galleries around the world. You can get creative content from Tate for free. You can see visual tours. Actually, what's really beautiful, what's happening, which actually been happening for some time now, and it's now available, that a lot of museums started to doing a virtual catalog.
Yeah.
And you can just start seeing the exhibitions that you would never be able to see before. So I think there is a lot of stuff that we can learn from them. And of course, a lot of Coworking have been creating this content, which I think it's absolutely crucial to fostering the community while we cannot see each other. So it's not just about, having the drinks, but it's also how do we, have some competition and do some drawing skills or some other skills, or, it's technology enables us to feel closer together, but you have to. So for example, when I was also designing this new art for next Burning Man, my friends, they live in Tel Aviv, so we have to do it virtually anyway. So there is nothing stopping you, but if you want to take inspiration, have a look at the biggest galleries, because they are really sharing a lot of content for free. There is a lot of courses now going for free that I'm even looking for how to start, programming for creative technologies and visual and audiovisual programming.
Another question about the correlation between creativity and wellness at work. What's your take on this?
So for me, I maybe just give you like my example, because my background is economics and finance and real estate, and my sort of artistic element of me was kind of pushed away on the side, because even though I've completed 6 years of musical school, I was just brought up in a household where your job should be serious. And I started feeling really sort of burn out after a while, when I was just thinking with my brain, and I had this physical need to do something with my hands, to touch something. So I started signing up for different things. I learned how to knit. I was doing, you know, a lot of creative stuff, or even not so creative, like brewing coffee or brewing kombucha, but then checking up, how can I transfer this kombucha SCOBY thing into material that is actually biodegradable, whatever. But that gave me an outlet that actually made me feel better. It was definitely impacted my well-being. And now I continue this, that it is some sort of form of a meditation when you're doing art. You're not in and the reason behind it is because if you're doing art, you're in the moment. You're stop thinking about the past. You're not thinking about the future. You are in the now. And these are the effects of the art form, because you're really engaged in what you're doing. And I now, if I see that I struggle with something, with anxiety, that I'm not doing enough of what I should be doing, then I just try to go back to this creativity to ground me in the now. And it's not just everybody else, but artists feel the same way, that sometimes they feel like if we are not producing something, or if we're not productive, then we are of no value. And you have to kind of be okay that sometimes there is no creative process, but it's totally needed for your own wellness to have this break and to be creative at some point in the future.
One last question about your advice for co-working spaces interested in bringing more creativity into their workplace. How to start and where to start to define what kind of creativity they can bring in?
So as I kind of already mentioned, there are so many different ways where you can take a traditional business, and actually when you put them with the creatives and technology, this can unlock completely new value. So I would start with, have a look who is your member? How can you bring value to your members by, let's say, starting with the collaboration and partnerships with some universities, with some local artists, to give them an opportunity to come in, present what they can do, and foster this kind of connection and collaboration. Another thing is, which I've been looking up, and I don't know if this applies to all of the countries, but there is in the UK a very big pressure on affordable workspace. And that often is a requirement to receive, you know, planning consent or something. So this is where you can reach out to the artists who can occupy this space at a lower rent, and can actually provide you so much value and create this beautiful community across all the other floors that is a traditional co-working. So there is definitely a mix of what you can do with your space. And I would say actually the less beautifully designed space, the most valuable. This is for artists because they can play with it. So just think about, you know, if you want to reach out to me, how I look at it, because I also am trying to open a space in Tel Aviv with my friends, but it's sometimes it's very difficult because artists often are being, as I mentioned, pushed out from the spaces and creative of the rent they're paying. There are a lot of different organizations who are trying to create either try to sign very long leases, which doesn't always impact, you know, in the best way on the provider, which then means that they are not being provided to the creatives. So there is this kind of circle that is kind of related to the policy, the planners, and even if the landlord of developer wants to provide the space, it just doesn't make sense. But what I've been looking at is trying to also utilize some sort of meanwhile spaces, but they have to have some sort of continuity. And what could happen is that if you as a coworking have few spaces and you have a certain sort of percentage of space that is either harder to let or accommodate, or you can dedicate for 6 months, 12-month period a space in one space, and then it locates around your coworking, that's another way you can integrate it into your business model so that it works for both parties, because everybody is benefiting from having creative people in the space. I just know sometimes it's hard financially for both parties, but I think it's important to try to find the ways when we can win both.
Thank you so much, Aneta. I think this is the perfect ending for the talk. That it's important to. It doesn't need to be very fancy. You can just start and then grow it together with the creatives that you can bring. And I'm sure as they are, working together, collaborating, you can build up and make room for more creativity in your workplace. Please go for it. Yeah.
So on this note, I totally agree. There is some things where you can start small and build up. However, there is this amazing opportunity to create spaces dedicated for creative and tech. So it's just down to where are you in the process? What is your targeted audience and community? Where are you in terms of your programming? But there is there are no rigid sort of walls that you cannot do it in any way. You just have to find out what's working best for your members. Where are you in the process? What's the community around you, and how you can bring value to the traditional sort of industry and the creative industry.
Yeah, I also definitely agree. If anyone watching this video wants to connect with you, I added your LinkedIn. It's on the website of hackworking.com, but on the participant kit of people. So if you have any more questions for Aneta, please go and add her to continue the conversation. Before I let you go, I would love to take a selfie with you, because I'm not able to be next to you, so we have to adapt and be creative, right?
Yeah.
So just let's do it up. 3, 2, 1, smile. Awesome. Thank you so much on behalf of all the viewers and the entire Hackworking crew. We loved listening to you, and we loved having you, Aneta. I wish you a wonderful weekend. Please give Yuki a hug for me. Sorry? I really miss him. I said, please give Yuki a big hug for me.
Okay.
And I hope we can make another physical hackathon soon, so we can see each other again.
Exactly, because last time it was me and Suki sleeping over there, remember? So we had a really 24 hours hackathon there.
Yeah.
Ciao, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.